Your approval rating is lower than a parking ticket, Karen said, sliding a glossy binder across Alex Reid's marble desk. Alex leaned back in his leather chair, Bo, the newly adopted disaster of a dog, gnawing at his Italian loafers like they were chew toys. So, what's the fix this time? Adopt an orphan? Get caught crying during a Hallmark movie. Karen didn't laugh. Close. You're going to play the part of a man who loves dogs. Devotedly. Publicly. With heart. Alex stared at her, then down at the half-poodle, half-nightmare tugging on his shoelaces. I don't even like dogs. Bo looked up at him and growled. Especially this one. You adopted him 2 days ago, Karen reminded him. That's enough time to bond. He peed in my shoe. Only one shoe, she replied cheerfully. Alex pinched the bridge of his nose. So what, you want a photo op with the mutt at a charity gala? A dog park photo shoot? Me wearing matching sweaters with him. Karen's eyes twinkled. I already ordered the sweaters. Navy cable knit. You'll look precious. I run a multi-billion-dollar investment firm. And now you run it with a rescue dog by your side, she said, unfazed. Look, you've had a good year on paper, 2 IPOs, for acquisitions, but people think you're made of marble. They want softness. Warmth. Relatability. I have warmth. You yelled at a barista for misspelling your name. I asked her to spell it with a K-S instead of a X. It's not that hard. Karen looked at him. Take the dog to the clinic in South Point. It's a non-profit. You'll get seen. Maybe throw in a donation. Easy PR win. Alex sighed and looked down at Bo, who was now chewing on a decorative chair leg. Fine. Bo belched. The community clinic was tucked between a second-hand bookstore and a florist with a cracked window display of sunflowers. Alex stepped inside, ducking his head instinctively. The room smelled faintly of antiseptic, lavender, and wet fur. He was immediately unimpressed. The walls were mismatched pastels. There were 2 cats lounging on the reception desk. And the woman behind it didn't even glance up when he cleared his throat. I have a pet, Alex said, already regretting every decision that led to this moment. She looked up then, and her eyes nearly knocked the air out of his chest. Sharp, deep brown, and dangerously unimpressed. Oh, good. Another rich guy who thinks owning a dog makes him a hero. She stood, wiping her hands on her scrubs. Let me guess, adopted for a photo op? Alex blinked. Excuse me. She stepped around the counter, crouched to examine Bo. The dog immediately rolled onto his back, tongue lolling out. Of course, she muttered. Total betrayal. You're already in his rearview mirror. Alex crossed his arms. Are you always this welcoming? She stood and faced him. Only to guys who show up in $600 shoes and hold their dogs like tax write-offs. $750, he corrected. She snorted. Naturally. Nora. A voice called from the back. The woman, Nora, apparently turned. We've got a turtle with a cracked shell in room 2. She pointed a clipboard at Alex. You want to be here? Fill that out. Bo gets his shots, a temperament test, and a behavioral consult. Don't lie, we'll know. Then she disappeared. Alex stared at the clipboard like it had insulted his lineage. Bo barked once, as if mocking him. The appointment was a disaster. Bo refused to stay still during the exam, peed on the weight scale, and somehow managed to tangle Alex's legs in his leash until he toppled backward into a wall of flea shampoo. Nora didn't smile once. Not when Bo licked her ear. Not when Alex tried to explain he didn't actually hate animals. Not even when he offered to make a large donation. I don't want your money, she said, removing her gloves. I want you to stop pretending you care. Alex stood, brushing shampoo off his blazer. Why do you assume I don't? Because I've seen more heart in an over-caffeinated squirrel, she snapped. You want to help animals? Don't bulldoze their homes. That stopped him cold. What are you talking about? The South Point shelter, she said. 3 blocks from here. You're buying the land for some luxury development. Which means the shelter's being kicked out. He hesitated. That's not confirmed. We're exploring options. Do you explore those options before or after the wrecking ball? I'm not the villain in this. No, she said, voice quiet now. You're just the guy holding the leash. Alex opened his mouth to reply. Then Bo barfed on his feet. The photo hit social media before he made it back to his car. Billionaire Alex Reid covered in shampoo, tangled in a leash, and standing in a puddle of dog vomit. The caption? Karma looks good on you, Reid. Hashtag Bonos, hashtag vets know best. Nora had tagged him. Of course she had. Alex sat in the back seat of his car, Bo snoring on the leather beside him, and scrolled through the comments. Finally, someone put Reid in his place. We stand vet Queen Nora. Bo for CO. He rubbed his temples and groaned. Karen's going to murder me. Then he looked down at Bo sprawled out, snoring like a drunk sailor, and something strange bloomed in his chest. He didn't hate him. And he didn't hate her, either. Even if she made him feel like the human equivalent of stepped on gum. Actually, especially because of that. Alex stared at the screen like it might explode if he blinked. His inbox had been reduced to a screaming inbox monster of need you to comment on this. Please respond urgent, and have you seen what she posted? Of course he had. It was impossible not to. There it was, plastered across every feed. Grumpy billionaire meets his match, and her dog patience, paw prints. A snapshot of him tangled in a leash, with Bo midair and a blur of what looked suspiciously like flea shampoo raining down in the background. Nora stood calmly beside him in the photo, clipboard in hand, eyes narrowed like she was deciding whether or not to neuter him on the spot. She posted it with the caption, who wore it better, Alex or the mop bucket? Karen said over the phone, gleefully. It's got 3 million views. That's impressive. This is a PR disaster, Alex muttered. Karen paused. Actually, it's the most relatable you've ever looked. Public opinions split between pity and admiration. I was wearing a $1,000 jacket, he growled. Yeah, and now you're trending. You're welcome. He rubbed his temples. So, what's the spin? Karen cleared her throat. The board thinks you should lean into it. Alex blinked. Lean into what? The image. The humbled billionaire. The vet's scathing honesty. The dog puke. All of it. I am not getting tangled in a leash again. No, she said. You're going to volunteer at the clinic. For a week. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, what? Karen grinned through the phone. Congratulations. You're about to spend 7 glorious days in the company of small animals, judgmental staff, and a woman who thinks you're a walking ego in designer shoes. This is cruel and unusual punishment. This is brand rehabilitation, sweetheart. Nora nearly choked on her bagel when Alex showed up the next morning in gray scrubs, Bo trotting proudly beside him. She was mid-mop, sweat already blooming at her hairline, and he looked like he'd just walked off the set of some high-budget vet drama. He held up a coffee carrier. Peace offering. She eyed the cups like they might be poisoned. What is this, a bribe? No, he said, handing her the one marked Nora, no foam, half sweet, judgy AF. This is your court-mandated punishment. I'm your new volunteer. Nora took the coffee without blinking. You lasted 3 minutes last time. Think you can break your own record? He gave her a slow smile. I brought backup this time. He patted Bo's head. Bo sneezed in her direction. She narrowed her eyes. You're cleaning that up. By hour 2, Alex had been bitten by a hamster named Fudge. Dropped a bag of kibble that exploded like confetti. Mistaken a ferret for a sick squirrel. And somehow, Nora still hadn't murdered him. Instead, she just sighed. Loudly. Frequently. Don't hold the cat like a football, she instructed, trying not to laugh as he awkwardly balanced a gray tabby in his arms. How should I hold it? He asked, bracing for impact. Like a baby with knife training. Bo sat in the corner with 2 small children, petting his ears like he was royalty. His eyes were closed. Traitor. They made it through vaccinations, checkups, and 1 surprise turtle with gout. And somehow, despite the chaos, Nora had to admit something awful. Alex was trying. Really trying. He listened. He asked questions. He even laughed when a goat headbutted him into a hay bale. "You're not terrible at this," she said at the end of the day, handing him a towel for his sweat-streaked neck. He blinked. "Is that a compliment?" "Don't let it go to your head." He grinned. Too late. Day 3 was when the goat gave birth. It was a community education event, which meant children. Dozens of them. All lined up outside the pen like it was a front-row seat to nature's wildest drama. Alex was only supposed to be holding a bucket. Then he looked down. Then he turned ghost white. And then he passed out. Right into the straw. Bo barked once. Loudly. In judgment. When Alex came to, Nora was standing over him with an ice pack, looking entirely too smug. "You fainted," she said. "I blacked out," he groaned. "Because of a goat." It was crowning, Nora. "I've seen toddlers with stronger stomachs." He sat up slowly. "I own property in 5 countries. And now you've been knocked out by a farm animal." Character development. Later that evening, after the clinic had emptied out and the smell of antiseptic faded into something softer, Alex found himself watching Nora sweep the hallway, her brow furrowed in concentration. "You don't stop," he said quietly. She looked up. "What?" "You work like it's life or death." Nora leaned on the broom. "Some days it feels like it." He stepped closer. "Why did you become a vet?" She shrugged, eyes going distant. "Because animals don't lie. They don't fake affection or say one thing and do another. You know where you stand with a dog. Is that why you like Bo more than me?" She gave him a crooked smile. "Bo hasn't tried to buy half my neighborhood." "Not yet," Alex replied, voice warm. "Give him a trust fund. He'll surprise you." For a long moment, they just stood there. Then she sighed and pushed the broom aside. "Go home, Reid. You've earned a shower and a therapy session. Will you be there?" She blinked. "Because I think you're more effective than my last therapist." She laughed, despite herself. "Flattery doesn't work on me." He leaned a little closer, enough for her to feel the heat of his body. "Good. Because I wasn't lying." And for a split second, she believed him. Which was dangerous. Because charm was what people like him did best. Still, when he left, she watched him go. And when Bo turned to glance back at her, tail wagging like a promise, she didn't look away. The storm had rolled in fast, sheets of rain slapping against the clinic's tin roof like impatient fingers tapping a desk. Nora cursed under her breath, clutching a tarp and a roll of duct tape as she dashed into the backyard enclosure. A section of the fence, already half-rotten and grumpy, had finally given up its will to live. The goats had been eyeing it like a jailbreak was coming. She wasn't about to let them succeed. Of course, that's when the flashlight hit her face. "Jesus," she flinched. "Are you trying to blind me?" "Could have just been a really handsome burglar," Alex said, stepping under the overhang, already soaked. His gray shirt clung to him in a way that felt deeply unfair to her heart rate. She narrowed her eyes. "Did you follow me out here?" "I heard you yelling at plywood. Thought maybe I could help." She exhaled. Strands of damp hair stuck to her cheeks. "Fine. Grab that side." They worked together in the rain, sputtering curses and snarky remarks. Nora tried not to notice how he kept glancing at her, how their hands brushed when he passed her a nail, how he didn't complain once about the cold or the mud. "Well," she muttered as the last corner of the tarp came down, "it's not pretty, but it'll hold." "Just like me," Alex said dryly. She snorted. The rain slowed to a drizzle. She leaned against the fence, soaked, breath visible in the cooling air. He did the same beside her. It was quiet. Uncomfortably quiet. "Why are you doing this?" she asked finally. Alex tilted his head. "Fixing a fence?" "Helping this clinic." "Volunteering." "Not quitting after the goat knocked you out." He shrugged, looking away. "I've spent a lot of my life doing things that look good on paper. I wanted to try something that felt good, even if it's chaotic, even if I'm bad at it." Nora studied him. So this is your guilt project? No, he said, more serious now. It's my get-out-of-my-own-head project. Maybe my wake-up call. The rain picked up again, soft and steady. Alex shifted to look at her. I never had pets growing up, he said. My parents didn't see the point. Responsibility with no return. But I always wanted a dog. Nora looked down at her boots. And now you have Bo. He smiled faintly. And he seems to think you're his owner. Bo has excellent taste. Apparently. They both chuckled, and then the sound faded, replaced by the patter of water and the slow press of silence. Alex turned toward her. His voice was low. You ever feel like everyone else figured out how to do life and you're just faking it? Nora blinked. That landed. Yeah, she said. All the time. They looked at each other then, really looked. And for the first time, she saw it. Not the billionaire mask. Not the PR-crafted exterior. But a man trying hard. Tired, vulnerable, and, God help her, handsome in the worst way. His hand brushed hers. Warm. Hesitant. Nora. She didn't move. He stepped closer, and suddenly the air between them was tight and fragile. His eyes searched hers, like asking permission. She leaned in. Just barely. Just enough. Then her breath caught. She pulled back. I can't, she whispered. Alex paused, the space between them thick with what almost happened. Why? He asked softly. Because I don't trust this, she said. You. Billionaires with good hair and nice hands and tragic backstories. His brow lifted. You think I have nice hands? Don't make this worse. I'm just saying, if you're cataloging my flaws, don't forget the devastating cheekbones. That earned him a laugh. And, just like that, the tension broke. Nora stepped back into the shadows of the overhang, arms crossed over her chest. You're complicated. I'm not, he said. I'm just new to this. To rain-soaked flirtation behind animal clinics? To someone seeing past the headlines. Nora looked at him for a long moment, then turned and walked inside without a word. Alex stayed behind in the rain a minute longer, watching her go, heart kicking a little harder in his chest. The next day, Alex showed up at the clinic again. With donuts. Nora raised a brow. You think glazed sugar will make me forget you tried to kiss me in the rain? I think glazed sugar makes everything better. Fair. Bo jumped onto the counter and barked. Nora gave him a scratch behind the ear. Good morning, traitor. He missed you, Alex said. She glanced at him. Did you? Alex didn't smile this time. Yes. It hit her somewhere she didn't expect. Somewhere soft. She looked away quickly, lips twitching. You're still terrible at holding cats. I'm improving. You still fainted over goat birth. I brought a helmet this time. She chuckled. You're relentless. You like that about me. And he was right. Which was the most dangerous part? Nora stared at the dress hanging on the back of her bedroom door like it was judging her. It was emerald green. Thrifted. Vintage. Slightly too tight in the hips and very much outside her usual flannel and scrubs wardrobe. She didn't do events. She especially didn't do galas full of rich people who used words like synergy and family office. But the South Point Animal Charity Gala was different. It raised funds for rescue clinics across the city, including hers. And Alex had invited her. Technically, she'd told him she'd think about it. Then he showed up at the clinic with a smile, 2 gala tickets, and Bo wearing a bow tie. She'd sighed. Loudly. Then said yes. Now here she was, wondering why her palms were sweating and if she had time to Google how to walk in heels without dying. Bo watched her from the bed, tail flicking. Don't look at me like that, she muttered, adjusting the dress for the 10th time. It's not a date. It's public relations. Bo sneezed. Alex was already waiting in the car outside her apartment. The driver opened the door and Nora slipped in, heart pounding despite herself. He looked up and froze. She pretended not to notice the way his eyes traveled slowly over her, like he was seeing her for the first time. Wow, he said softly. She arched a brow. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not surprised, he said, smiling. I'm stunned. She rolled her eyes, but her cheeks warmed. You clean up okay yourself, she muttered, trying not to look directly at him in his tailored black suit. The collar framed his jaw like it had been invented for the sole purpose of making women swoon. Bo barked from the front seat. Yes, Alex said, glancing forward. She's gorgeous. You were right. Nora laughed. It slipped out before she could stop it. And suddenly the air between them was lighter, charged, familiar. Dangerous. The gala was held in a refurbished botanical garden turned ballroom, glittering under chandeliers and strung fairy lights. There were canapes, champagne fountains, and people wearing shoes that cost more than Nora's car. She felt entirely out of place. Until Alex took her hand. Just for a moment. Just enough to steady her. Breathe, he whispered near her ear. You belong here. She blinked up at him, trying to ignore how warm his hand was. Why do you sound so sure? Because this place needs more people who speak goat. She laughed again. And then they were being pulled into the swirl, handshakes, photo flashes, introductions to people with perfect teeth and fake laughs. Nora held her own. She always did. She even managed to impress one of the board members by launching into a passionate rant about affordable spay/neuter programs in underserved areas. But it wasn't until she met her that things got messy. A tall, stunning woman with icy blue eyes and a white satin dress that probably had a personal security detail. Oh, she said sweetly, looking Nora up and down. You must be the vet. Nora gave her a tight smile. And you must be. Cecilia, the woman said, wrapping her arm through Alex's like it belonged there. We used to date. Ages ago. I just had to come tonight when I heard he was here with someone new. Alex stiffened. Nora sipped her champagne and smiled. Well, he's mine now. And he does not respond well to clicker training, so best of luck if you're thinking of trying again. Cecilia blinked. Then Alex smirked. I love her, he murmured under his breath as Cecilia flounced away. Nora grinned. That makes one of us. They escaped the ballroom a little after 10, slipping out through a side door and into a quiet hallway lined with glass windows overlooking the moonlit garden. Nora kicked off her heels and leaned against a windowsill. So, your ex is terrifying. She once tried to buy an island. Was she going to populate it with mirrors and Botox? He laughed. And then it was quiet. The good kind of quiet. I'm glad you came, he said finally. I almost didn't. I know. She looked at him. Why did you invite me, really? Alex met her gaze, no hint of playfulness this time. Because I feel like myself when I'm with you. And I like who that person is. Nora's breath caught. And then he stepped closer. Not too close. Just close enough that she could feel the tension vibrating in the air between them like the moment before a storm. I'm going to kiss you, he said, voice low. You shouldn't, she whispered back. I know. And then he did. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't perfect. It was real. Warm and slow and achingly tender, the kind of kiss that melted her knees and made her forget her name. The kind that asked a question and promised the answer wouldn't hurt. When they pulled apart, neither of them spoke. Because what could you say after that? They left the gala early. The limo was quiet. Bo was curled between them, snoring softly with his head in Nora's lap. Alex's hand found hers in the dark. She didn't pull away. When they reached her apartment, he walked her to the door, Bo trailing behind like a furry little chaperone. She turned to him. Thank you, she said. For the gala? For letting me see the man behind the price tag. Alex swallowed. Do you like him? She didn't answer. Instead, she stood on her toes and kissed him again. Soft, sweet, certain. Then she turned and disappeared inside. She didn't see the headlines until the next morning. Local vet dating the billionaire behind her clinic scandal? Romance brews amid property feud. From Scrubs to socialite. Who is Nora Jennings? Her phone lit up like fireworks. The photo showed them holding hands at the gala entrance. Another showed Alex looking at her like she hung the stars. Nora stared at the screen, heart pounding. Then Bo barked. And she knew. The storm was just beginning. The worst part wasn't the headline. It wasn't even the photo of her in Alex's arms, looking dazed and love-struck beneath crystal chandeliers. No, the worst part was the caption. PR genius or romance for real? Reid's relationship with local vet sparks speculation. And that tiny, soul-crushing line beneath it. Sources claim the pairing is part of Reid's ongoing image makeover campaign. Nora stared at the screen, numb. Bo whined beside her on the couch, nudging her leg with his snout like he already knew. Her phone buzzed with text after text. Friends. Clients. Curious followers. One of them linked an article suggesting her clinic had benefited from the relationship, like she'd been bought and gift-wrapped in scrubs. She felt sick. When Alex called, she let it ring. When he texted, she didn't open it. And when he showed up at the clinic an hour later, she didn't let him past the lobby. I need to talk to you, he said, voice rough, eyes tired. I don't need anything from you, she snapped, barely holding it together. Except distance. Nora, I didn't leak it. But you used me, she said, louder now. You let them write the story they wanted. And you didn't stop it? I didn't know. You didn't try to know. You let me believe it was different. That I mattered to you. You do. She shook her head. Not as much as your image. Bo barked softly from behind the desk. Alex's gaze darted to him, then back to her. I never wanted this to happen like this, he said quietly. That's the thing, Alex, she said, stepping back. It shouldn't have happened at all. And then she turned her back and walked away. Bo refused to eat dinner that night. He sat at the door instead, ears twitching every time someone passed in the hallway. Nora tried coaxing him with peanut butter and baby carrots, his favorite. He didn't budge. She curled on the couch in her comfiest hoodie, staring at the TV without seeing anything. Her heart felt like wet cardboard, heavy, mushy, and about 2 minutes from collapse. Her phone buzzed again. Alex. She silenced it and tossed it across the room. And that's when Bo got up. She heard the jingle of his collar. The front door creaked open. By the time she rushed to the hallway, he was gone. It took 2 hours, 3 phone calls to local shelters, and 1 very confused Uber driver before she found him. Bo was curled up in front of Alex's building. Soaking wet. Waiting. Alex was there too, crouched beside him, whispering something as he tried to dry Bo's ears with a towel. He looked up as she stepped into the light. Neither of them spoke for a moment. I didn't tell them, he said finally. Not my team. Not the press. I shut it down as soon as it hit. Nora folded her arms, unsure if she was shaking from the cold or something else. Why didn't you tell me that earlier? Because I thought I'd lost you. And because I've always been better at damage control than feelings. She knelt beside Bo, who gave her a miserable little huff and pressed into her arms. You didn't lose me because of the press, she said softly. You lost me because you let the world talk louder than you did. Alex stared at her. I didn't want to screw this up. You did, she said. But you're here, and Bo clearly forgives you. He gave a short, breathless laugh. I didn't even notice he was gone until he showed up downstairs and sat like a statue. He's smarter than both of us. Alex looked at her carefully. So now what? Nora hesitated, brushing rain from Bo's fur. Now I figure out if the man who's been trying to kiss me in goat pens and build fences in the rain is the same one the world says you are. I'm not, he said. At least, I don't want to be. She looked up. And saw it then. The real man. Not the mogul. Not the press puppet. Just Alex. Flawed. Honest. Quietly terrified of losing her. Hey, said a tiny voice behind them. A girl, maybe 8, maybe 9, stood on the sidewalk with a dripping umbrella and a pink jacket. She looked at Alex and Nora, then pointed at him. Are you the guy with the goat video? Alex blinked. Yes, my mom said you were mean. But you look sad. He said nothing. The girl turned to Nora. But you make him not sad, right? Nora swallowed. The little girl beamed. Then I think you're good. And just like that, she trotted away. Alex looked at Nora with a half-smile. I'm not sure if I was just blessed or roasted. Nora stood, Bo still leaning against her leg. I think you're starting to get it. The pet adoption fair was in full swing by the time Nora arrived. Colorful banners flapped in the breeze above makeshift tents lining the city park. Dogs barked, kids ran wild with face paint, and local vendors handed out branded leashes and organic treats. There was a kissing booth manned entirely by golden retrievers and a three-legged chihuahua named Gus doing backflips for attention. Nora was late, of course, thanks to a runaway llama at the clinic, but she didn't mind. She hadn't been sure she wanted to come at all. Until she saw him. Alex. Standing in front of the main stage wearing scrubs that clearly weren't his, slightly wrinkled and hilariously embroidered with the clinic's faded, positive vibes only logo across the chest. His hair was wind-tossed, and he was holding a clipboard like he actually belonged here. And Bo? Bo was seated beside him on a little red stool, wearing a tie. A literal red tie. Nora choked on a laugh. Is this a hallucination? She asked, walking up slowly. Did I inhale too many llama fumes this morning? Alex turned. And for the first time in days, maybe weeks, his face lit up. Nora, I heard there was a man impersonating one of my staff. Not impersonating, he said, stepping toward her. Just. Heavily supervised by Bo. Bo barked once, proud. She crossed her arms, teasing. You bribed him, didn't you? With jerky and forgiveness. Nora looked around. You really threw yourself into this, huh? I wanted you to see that I'm not just showing up for you. I'm showing up because this matters. Because you matter. She swallowed. Also, he added, I had to see you in that shirt that says dogs before dudes. It's truly iconic. Nora smiled. Slowly, softly. You know this doesn't fix everything. I know. But it's a start, she said. And then she stepped closer. I still don't trust billionaires. I still don't understand chihuahuas. They both laughed. And then, right there in front of a crowd of strangers, two local reporters, a DJ spinning 2000s RomCom soundtracks, and Bo wagging his tail like a metronome of fate, Alex leaned in. And kissed her. No hesitation this time. Just warmth. And laughter. And the unspoken understanding that some things, the real things, don't need to be forced. They just find you. The crowd cheered. Someone wolf whistled. A small boy yelled, ew, and then clapped anyway. Alex pulled back, forehead resting gently against hers. You're the only person who's ever made me feel like more than the price tag, he whispered. Nora cupped his cheek. You're not a price tag, Alex. You're just a man who needed to find his place. And have I? She nodded. Yeah, right here. Epilogue. Bo's place opened 4 months later in a renovated barn just outside the city. Part adoption center, part rescue rehab, part animal sanctuary, it was Nora's dream and Alex's redemption. Funded by one of his foundations, operated by Nora's team, and co-run, at least in spirit, by Bo. The sign out front read, Bo's Place. CEO, Bo Reid, Chief Emotional Officer. Humans welcome by appointment. Every week, Alex showed up in scrubs, carrying coffee and getting barked at by a herd of corgis who didn't respect his personal space. Nora pretended to roll her eyes every time. But every Friday, like clockwork, they sat on the back porch swing of the converted barn, her curled up under his arm, Bo snoring at their feet, and watched the sun go down over the paddocks. Sometimes he still couldn't believe it was real. And sometimes she still looked at him like she couldn't believe he actually turned out okay. But mostly, they just smiled. And knew they were exactly where they were meant to be. The end.
Thank you so much for watching. All my stories are written by me, and I hope you enjoy them. I upload new videos daily, so I hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd also love to hear what you think about this story in the comments, and feel free to tell me what kinds of stories you'd like me to bring to the channel in the future.